Okay, if I could have your seat, please. The time is 7:35. I'll call this February 22nd, 2016 meeting of the Stouffville Mayor and Council to order. The mayor and all council members are present. We'll start off with our invocation. Our invocation tonight will be the Reverend Katie Walters, the Associate Pastor from Westminster Presbyterian Church. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much for welcoming me here tonight to open us in prayer. Let us pray. O holy God, we come before you in gratitude, in thanks, for the gifts of family, friend, and community, and for safe travels in the midst of rainstorms. We come remembering you have called many before us to follow you, to trust you, and to share your light and love in this world. Give us courage to listen to how your Spirit is calling us into action. Give us wisdom to discern your will versus our own. Give us patience in times when we are frustrated by the things of this world. In your grace that meets us where we are but refuses to leave us where it finds us, we find our hope to continue to work for a world where all your children are safe, valued, and are free to live as you created them to be. We ask your blessing upon this, our time tonight, that we may speak in love and kindness in all we do, and that we leave this place full of joy for our community and your creation. In the name of you, O holy triune God, Father, Son, and our Savior. Amen. Thank you.
And now we'll have the salute to the flag, and that will be done by our Miss Senior Georgia and Stouffville resident, Miss Chris Johnson. Miss Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Under ceremonial matters, we have none this evening. So now we will go to minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes. Hang on. From the last meeting.
You mean the February 8th,
2016
meeting?
Correct, yes.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion of council? Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the February 8, 2016 meeting, please signify by raising your right hand. That's 6-0. There's no opposition. The motion carries. We have no invited guests this evening, so we'll go to our committee reports. First, we'll hear from our Board of Appeals Chairman, Ms. Marcy Ferris.
Good evening. The Board of Appeals met on February 22nd to hear BOA 1601. This was a request by Keith Campbell for variances from parking, yard, height, and setback requirements of the Corridor Overlay District for precise tax and accounting services to allow for the addition of 4 new parking spaces. The variance was approved with conditions, one of which was the applicant must bring the landscaping back into compliance with the plan that the board approved in November of 2012. Any questions?
How are you going to follow up on that and know that that's accomplished?
We bug Jason.
We turn that over to staff, do we? Is that?
Yeah, I send them emails.
Okay. And do we have a time limit on that? I'm just asking for my own information.
Real quick, we'll tie the CO or the certificate of completion for there's some parking spaces with the planting of the trees.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Next, we'll have our Parks and Rec Board, Mr. Simon Cole. Oh, we're going to have Brittany Marmol give our report tonight. Thank you for coming, Brittany.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we just have two short things from the Parks and Rec Board. At our last meeting, we elected the board chair and the chair-elect for 2016. And we also voted yes on the inclusion of non-Gwinnett County residents to the Senior Center for membership. Is there any questions?
Do we have any questions of Ms. Marmol? Thank you very much. Next, we'll have the Art Commission, but that'll be from Vice Chairman Brittany Washington.
Good evening, Mayor
Good
and
evening.
Council. Just a short little something from the Arts Commission. We will be having a charity fashion show on May the 15th. It'll be here at City Hall in the community room. We're inviting all the citizens and the mayor and council to be involved. We will have heavy hors d'oeuvres and tickets will be $10. Okay. Any questions?
Oh, thank you for coming on short notice. We appreciate it. And finally, in our committee, last but not least, Stumble Tourism and Trade Executive Director Kelly McAloon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our last general meeting was held at Summit Chase Country Club on February 15th. We revised slightly our event schedule. I sent that over to Melissa today. We moved our first main concert to May 28th in conjunction with the memorial celebration in lieu of having it on May 21st with our beach blast. And our last concert of the season will be on September 24th. Snellville Farmers Market is accepting application for vendors. Visit their website for applications at snellvillefarmersmarket.com. The community garden has made great progress on the 20 by 40-foot greenhouse that has just been erected in the community garden. The greenhouse will be used to grow and propagate plants, both for use in the garden and for the spring and fall plant sales to support the garden. It will also be used for classes and demonstrations. The community garden is also accepting applications for bed rental for the 2016 gardening season, beginning April 1st. The community garden at Snellville for the applications. Please visit our Commerce Club meetings that are held the first Tuesday of each month at the City Hall in Snellville at noon. This is a great way to stay connected with the business sector in our community. Also, at our last meeting, we have our little brochures, and there's some at the back, so as you leave, please pick one up. It tells about STAT and our membership program. Our next meeting will be held at Eastside Medical Center on March 21st. And as always, please like us on Facebook and check our website at snellvilletourism.com for the latest on activities and upcoming events.
Any questions of Ms. McAloon? Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
report. That's the end of our committee reports. We now go into public hearing. Item A, second reading, RZ 16-01, CUP-16-01, consideration and action on application by Hindiat Y. Ahmed to amend the official zoning map of the city of Snellville from BN to BG, request for an additional use permit, and request for variances from the city code of Snellville for a gas station and convenience store on the plus or minus .88 acre property at 1103 Athens Highway, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5101029.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. What you have before you is a request for rezoning and a conditional use permit application, as well as a variance request to use the site basically as is. As you stated, it's located at 1103 Athens Highway. It's on the corner there in Cooper Road across from Cooper Village, adjacent to the old car wash to the back and the vacant restaurant there across the street. A little history on the property. The property was originally developed in, I believe, in 1983 or 84 by Murphy Oil. It involves a .88 acre property as well as basically 1,000 square foot convenience store, fuel canopy, and related parking. In the year of 2010, it abruptly closed and has been closed since then, basically triggering our 18-month grandfathering provision, which required the rezoning to BG because now it's considered a more intense use and a conditional use permit request within that zoning district. They've also here to request several variances from the zoning and development regs. They've requested several exemptions from the corridor overlay district requirements. They've requested to install DOT standard 4-foot wide sidewalks on Cooper and Athens Highway 6 months after they open to be able to generate some capital. They've also made a couple of requests that aren't relevant, but they requested to waive the screening requirement for the dumpster. They later agreed to do that, and there's no buffers to be reduced. And they did request some exemption from the required landscaping islands at the terminus of the parking spaces. There's little room to work with, and a general variance for the site to be approved as is. And I'll go into the variances a little bit more here in a second. This is basically the existing site with some additional landscaping. The site is pretty heavily landscaped already. The applicant is planning to restripe and reseal the parking lot with 11 spaces, add to the existing landscaping, curb painting where needed, and install new LED canopy, building, and site lighting. The applicant intends to occupy the existing building at this time. It's a brick building. It's in pretty good shape. It is also been found to be on a septic tank. They'll need approval from environmental health on that. And there is some concern, given the 31-year age of the property, that maybe some of the fuel tanks have leaked, and they'll need to be required to provide some kind of proof from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources to ensure that they're in compliance with today's standards. And just go through the variances in a little more detail. At this time, they've requested exemption of the corridor overlay requirements, which are architectural design features and other pedestrian amenities that are really hard to coordinate with an already existing building and parking lot. It's basically crippling for a redevelopment type site and requires substantial upgrades that are most often better done at the time of actual full redevelopment. So we suggest approval for those. They requested to have the 4-foot sidewalks per DOT and install them 6 months later after opening. We recommend approval for that, given that that's the Georgia DOT standard, and that'll give them a little time to generate some capital to put back into the site. The other one was they've requested to be exempt from installing the landscape pilings at the end of those parking terminuses on the north of the property. As you can see, they're already connected to a landscape strip. Adding those two would take away from some of the critical parking spaces that the dumpster and the enclosure already take one of those. So we figured that that was reasonable. And then once again, to kind of a general variance to use this site as is in case there was something that was missed, small, that we might run into during plan review or something of that matter. There are several conditions required to meet the conditional use permit. They've met all those. The fuel pump shall not be closer than 30 feet. They've met that. They should be 100 feet from residential. They met that, and the canopy designs are correct as well. So as a staff, we recommend approval of the conditional use permit and approval of the zoning, and would like to reference any conditions and variance approvals or denials to the actual ordinance that was distributed to you as part of your packet.
Any questions of Mr. Thompson? Ms. Pender?
Jason, just a couple questions. Is there a reason why they need to go do the 4-foot sidewalks instead of the 6? Is it a
Just, from what I
space?
understand, if it gets too much, wider, it's gonna get into the existing landscaping there on the front. That was the only, and typically when we send off for the 6-foot sidewalks, depending on where they are on the state highway, Georgia DOT, for the most part, has been sending back the 4, because they don't wanna deal with the additional, sidewalk area for some reason, so. I mean, if we can fit them in there, I'm sure they could do it.
Okay. And then my other question is the 6-month delay in putting in the sidewalks. At one point, it sounded like, to me, when I was reading through the case study, it said that they could wait 6 months to put them in, but then there was somewhere else that I read that they had to be completed within 6 months. So I just want to make sure we know what date we're dealing with and what's the teeth in that if they don't do it.
Well, the teeth, like with anything else, is just an enforcement action, since when you adopt an ordinance, it's considered a law. So basically, we can cite them for failure to meet zoning conditions, but let me make sure. Yeah, it says completed in these conditions, I believe, so they need to have them done within 6 months of approval.
So that means they're going to have to start.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way we want it. We didn't give them a long time, because longer times usually lead to, different outcomes.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Thompson? Thank you, sir. Is the applicant in the room? Please step forward.
Mayor, Council, my name is David Ehrman. I'm an attorney. I represent Ms. Hindia Ahmed. Just raise your hand, Ms. Ahmed. She is the owner of the property, and we have filed the 2 applications, and we would request that they be granted.
Are you okay with the conditions as presented by staff?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Now open it to public hearing. Anyone like to speak either for or against? Please step forward. Seeing none, I'll accept the motion. Can I have a motion, please?
I can make one. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for approval of RZ 1601 and CUP 1601, a rezoning and conditional use permit for a gas station with convenience store and request for variances with the conditions and variances as written in the ordinance.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion of council? Seeing no discussion, I call the question. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor, no opposed. The motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item B, second reading RZ 16-02. Consideration and action on application by Patrick Stewart to amend the official zoning map of the city of Snellville from BN to BG and request for variances from the city code of Snellville for the .46 plus or minus acres property at 2358 East Main Street, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5038018. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, we have a very similar situation here, just with a different use. This is located 2358 East Main Street. You're familiar with it as the old Huddle House restaurant across from First Baptist, and then across there from Burger King, as well as the elementary school there to the rear. Once again, this was once grandfathered use in BN. Now it's considered more intensive and requires a BG zoning district. The applicant is here to request that, as well as several variances to bring a dated property into the intent of the ordinance and back into commerce. Very similar situation. The previous owner here applied for several variances in front of the Board of Appeal. They were approved, but yet made an offer on the building from Huddle House, which was not accepted. Huddle House tried to make the repairs themselves. That didn't work out. So here we are with Mr. Stewart. He is the current owner at Golden Crust Caribbean Bakery and Grill over next think it's Snellville Village next to the racetrack. He's been there for several years, and he's looking to get a place with some better parking and have a little more exposure. He's going to run mostly a carry-out type restaurant here, and he requested to be rezoned for that purpose, and he's also requested a few variances. He's requested to keep the brick and stucco finishes of the building exterior as they currently exist. Those were repainted and redone at the time that Huddle House undertook the original modification. Once again, he's requesting to be exempt from having to install some, let me put this down. The decorative benches that are a requirement of the corridor overlay, mainly on 78, because there's not really any room there on that miter, nor is there any room on the Church Street right-of-way. He's requested to be exempt from the buffers required. There'll be one across the street from the church, and then also one that's adjacent to the elementary school. However, both of those organizations run in a more commercial facility, and we believe that that would be okay as well, because those buffers have not been there for many years, and it's functioned fine. Once again, he's also allowing to expand the existing outdoor painted metal walk-in freezer from 10 to 14 feet to give him a little more room to store some of his goods, and we recommend approval for that. The requested BG zoning district is in harmony with the surrounding uses. You'll see over time that we've pretty much parcel by parcel removed some of these older BN properties where they once were more of a neighborhood business to now these properties on Highway 78 and 124 function as commercial corridors, and BG is more reflected of that kind of use. And once again, we recommend approval with the conditions that have been supplied and the variance request inside of the associated ordinance.
Any questions of Mr. Thompson by council? Thank you very much, sir. Is the property owner, will you come forward, please, sir? Good evening.
My name is Patrick Stewart,
Your address, Mr. Stewart?
3505 Brushy Wood Drive in Loganville, Georgia.
Thank you. Are you, do you agree with all the conditions that were placed on the property and the conditions of the zoning by staff?
Yes, sir.
You are? Okay. Any questions of the owner? Thank you, sir. We now open it to public hearing. Anyone to come and speak for or against, please step forward. Seeing none, I call the question, or excuse me, I ask for a motion. Is there a motion of council?
Motion to approve RZ 16-02, which is a rezoning for a restaurant with the staff recommended conditions and variances as referenced in the ordinance.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of CUP 1602, please signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries 6. There's no opposition. Congratulations, sir. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Item C, second reading CUP 16-02.
Mayor, if I could, I need to recuse. I do call 12 Stone my home church, so I'm going to recuse myself from the matter. So I'll be exiting the hall.
Thank you, Councilman. I apologize. You did tell me that earlier, and I should have called on you. My bad. Second reading CUP 16-02, consideration action on application by 12 Stone Church, Inc. for a conditional use permit and request for variance from the City Code of Snellville for a church on the 5.44 plus or minus acre property zone BG at 1709 Scenic Highway, Snellville, Georgia, tax parcel 5056042. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, case number 16-02, of a conditional use permit to operate a church and request for variances within the BG zoning district, 1709 Scenic Highway, located on the Scenic Highway Commercial Corridor, for a church campus and 12 Stone Church is here, being represented by Mr. Norwood Davis, the CFO for 12 Stone Church. This is the proposed layout, which would take up the currently empty 46,000 square foot standalone building that exists as a relic of the Best Buy moves, the Best Buy's move next door. A little bit over a 5-acre property is bordered to the north by the new Scenic Promenade development, to the west by a vacant single-family residential dwelling. That's a 15-acre piece. And then to the south by Tree Lane there and other commercial uses commonly found on the Scenic Highway Service District. Basically, 12 Stone is looking to open an additional campus here. They plan to spend about $1 million to upgrade the facilities, include major a major change to the architecturals of the front, as well as the tenant basically build out to make the space usable to them in the way that they like to conduct their church services. They believe that they should have 750 to 800 people now, with hoping to grow in the future, and they will open with, from what I understand, 2 services and then grow it from there. They have asked to have some variances. One is one of the conditions of the conditional use permit approval within the zoning district requires a maximum of 3 acres. We believe that condition or that requirement is more suitable for a residential district where you don't want the campuses to sprawl and cause more adverse effects, so we recommend approval for that. They've also requested some variances related to the landscaping parking islands around the building, as they're going to stripe out some additional spaces that Best Buy never used. They're still going to utilize the landscape islands. They're just not going to make them as big, and this is for ingress and egress purposes. They do plan to plant several plant materials in front of the building to add a nice aesthetic appeal for everyone. So they meet the other conditions as part of the conditional use permit. They have the street frontage, they have the minimum lot size, they have the setbacks, and they're not required to plant a buffer. There's no residential uses. One of the bigger issues associated with this proposed use is typically traffic, pulsated traffic at the time of arrival, and when they leave church. They've submitted a traffic plan that consists of 4 key elements. They went over this with Assistant Chief Perry, agreed on some ways to lessen the traffic impact, and like I said, this is their 8th or 9th campus, so they've done this several times and are very efficient and feel really good about it, and we agree with that. Once again, we recommend approval with the conditions as stated in the attached ordinance that was sent out this afternoon.
Any questions from council for Mr. Thompson? Ms. Pender?
Mr. Thompson, this may be a question for the applicant, but I think one of the major concerns I have is the traffic. And while, maybe we can get some experience of some of the other campuses, but I know like the one that's on Highway 20 going up towards Buford, while it is efficient coming in and out, it does require traffic to be stopped when a service is being let out. So that means 124 traffic is going to be at a standstill several different times while they're letting out groups of cars. So we're what's the word? We're making it worse, the conditions of 124. So do you have an idea of what times their church services are?
Sure, and I'll leave that for Mr. Davis to explain. He's got a pretty good grasp of it. I believe it's very similar to the property they have on Hamilton Mill on 124 up on that end. I'll let him speak to the details of that.
Any other questions of Mr. Thompson? Thank you, Jason. I believe Mr. Davis is here representing the applicant. Please state your name and address for the record.
Norwood Davis, Chief Financial Officer for 12 Stone Church, 1322 Buford Drive, Lawrenceville, Georgia, 30043. Thank you for the question, Council Member. Appreciate the question. Parking is always, parking and traffic are always an issue. One of the significant things that I think we bring to the table is a significant amount of experience with these kinds of operations. You mentioned the Highway 20 building. There's several significant differences between this parcel and the Highway 20 parcel. The Highway 20 parcel has 1,400 parking spaces. This has right around 300 that will be usable, so there's a significant scale difference there as well. In addition, the Highway 20, while it is also a 4-lane median divided state route, it does not have a traffic light to be able to control. This parcel will have a traffic light control, which will be significant because we are able to work with Gwinnett DOT to optimize the traffic lights to minimize the disruption to the traveling public. I would also state, as I stated with the Planning Commission, significant traffic disruption is not in our interest either. I mean, that does not send the kind of message that we want to. As Mr. Thompson stated, this facility is about the same size as our Hamilton Mill campus, which is also on State Route 124, but it is not on a 4-lane divided. It's just 2 lanes, and it's not divided. And it does have a traffic light, and we're able to manage traffic there pretty well. And so we really don't anticipate that there's going to be any issues here. We've studied it, we've looked at it, and we can work with Gwinnett County DOT as well as Estellville PD to make sure that we don't have any impediments. In addition, the primary times where we create significant traffic congestion are between our 2 primary services on Sunday morning between 9 and 11. That exchange is approximately between 10:30 and 11. Our services are 75 minutes, so it goes from 9 to 10:15, and the next service doesn't start until 11 a.m. But there is some congestion there between that 10:30 to 11 a.m. window, and given that that's a Sunday morning, most retail operations are not open during that time. That's a significant retail corridor, so we don't anticipate it's going to be a significant issue.
Any other questions?
No, I have one other question. This campus, your Snellville group has been meeting in the city, or not maybe in the city, but you've been around, weren't you at FARS and you were at?
We were at FAR, and then we moved to Brookwood.
And the size of the congregation, would you say it's about what you're expecting here already, or?
Currently, we're limited because of the seating capacity and the number of services that we can have at Brookwood High School. Currently, we have about between 700 and 800 adults attending 2 different services, 9 and 11 currently. As we mentioned, we're planning 750 to 800 seats. We believe that in time we would be able to fill that primarily at the 11 a.m. service. So we would anticipate that this campus could grow to that. Typically, we look to grow to 3 times the seating capacity over 4 or 5 services. As I mentioned, the Hamilton Mill campus is very similar to this size. It's been meeting for 7 years. It has a seating auditorium of 850 seats. They currently have about 1,800 total people attending over 4 services, just to give you a sense. But it's taken 7 years to get there.
Any other questions?
On your in and out, do you plan to direct people only to 124 or down Tree Lane and out that way as well?
Well, actually, yes, we'll direct people out down Tree Lane as well as to 124. And we also have the right in, right out coming south on 124. That'll help people coming in. So there's actually 3 different entrances into the property, and there's or 3 different ways people can get in, and then there's 2 ways out.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Great, thank you.
Now we'll open the hearing to the public. Anyone who would like to speak either for or against, please come forward. Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve CUP 16-02 for a conditional use permit and request for variances from the City Code of Snellville for a church on the approximately 5.44 acre property, Zone BG, at 1709 Scenic Highway, tax parcel 5056042, in accordance with the relevant ordinance that specifies the exact variances and conditions, and with the current landscaping plan also included.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Marmol, second. Any further discussion by council? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor of approving CUP 16-02, please signify by raising your right hand. That's 5 to approve, 0 opposed. The motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Davis. Next, item D, consideration and action on Snellville Tourism and Trade's use of light poles in the town center area for a Veterans banner display. At this point, I will ask Executive Director Kelly McAloon if she'll come forward, but I didn't see you there in front, Kelly, and tell us a little bit about this program.
I'm excited that you missed me in the front row. That means, anyway, very, very excited about this program. We're going to call it the Snellville American Hero Military Banner Program. And this is actually modeled after a city in Pennsylvania. So if everybody takes a look, all the banners will look similar to this, of course, with different, people on the banners. And each side will have a different person on them. The green, the town green, there are 10 lamp posts on the green and 2 on the Veterans Memorial side. Those banners will be $200 each. The rest of the banners in the city will be $150 each. Okay, sorry.
They're not going to buy anything from you tonight.
I know. I'm just telling them about it.
They got to wait till we say okay, so you need to sell us right now.
So anyway.
You can't hear it on the video if you're not in the microphone.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, we got most of it.
Okay. Anyway, there's about 74 light poles in the city, which would equate to about 148 banners. Very excited about this. I think it would be very aesthetically pleasing to the landscape of the city. I think they're very nice banners. So they would go up 30 days prior to Memorial Day, 30 days prior to Veterans Day, and the initial offering would be for 2 years. So that's what we'd like to do.
Thank you. Any questions?
So the banners that go up, that are purchased for this year will also go up next year?
Correct. Okay. Yes. Yes, for that 30-day prior to Memorial Day and 30-day prior to Veterans Day.
And I believe after that, they're renewable if they
They'll
so
be
desire.
renewable for half price, the following years. Yeah. So.
Any other questions of council? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll open it to public hearing to the audience. Anyone who'd like to speak in favor or opposed, please come forward. Seeing no one, I'll ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Stat's use of the light poles in the town center area for a Veterans banner display.
And that would be for 30 days prior to Memorial Day and 30 days prior to Veterans Day, correct?
That's correct.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion of council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of Stat's use of the light poles on the town center area for 30 days prior to Memorial Day and 30 days prior to Veterans Day, please signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 approved, 0 opposition. The motion carries. That ends our public hearing, or ends old business, excuse me. Now we have no consent items, and now we go to our new business. On item A, do I have a motion for continuance?
Motion to postpone consideration and action on the appointment of Chris Johnson to the Snellville Arts Commission until our next meeting.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the question. All those in favor of postponing the appointment to our next meeting, please signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor, no opposed. The motion carries. Consideration and action on surplus of 2001 Toyota Prius from the Parks and Recs Department. Mr. Marmol?
Motion to surplus the 2001 Toyota Prius, VIN number JT2BK12U62004882 from the Parks and Rec Department.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion of council? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor of the action on the surplus 2001 Toyota Prius signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 approved, 0 in opposition. The motion carries. Finally, consideration and action on selection of a website developer. Councilman Emanuel.
I was privileged to be on a committee with 3 of our staff members, Brian Arrington, Erica Fleeman, and some guy named Eric Van Ottering. And we went through a number of potential vendors. We selected VC3. They did a very, very impressive presentation, and this is going to be a lot more than a redo of a website. It's going to be extensive. It's going to give us a lot of tools that we don't currently have. And I'd like to make a motion to approve VC3 as that vendor for a budget not to exceed $10,000.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion of council? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor of action to select VC3 to develop our website with a maximum budget of $10,000? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. That's 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion carries. That will end our public hearing. We now go to council reports. Councilman Emanuel.
Believe it or not, I don't have much to say tonight. I just want to thank everybody for for being here. I will have a video and slides and all kinds of things next time. But I just appreciate your support and your continued enthusiasm for our city. We're doing some great things. We're moving in great directions.
And we'll look forward to next month's meeting. Councilman Howard.
How y'all doing? The first thing out of the box, Kathy Emanuel, would you stand up just a minute, please? I want everybody, if you don't mind, to give Kathy Emanuel a great big round of applause, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Beyond remarkable sometimes is what some of the folks in this city accomplish with what they do and how they give their heart to this city, and Kathy is one of those. She redesigned the cop cab flyer, thing that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And looking at the last couple of years, almost 2 years that we've had this thing out, we've been a lot of places with this thing. So we started going through the pictures. So Kathy took it upon herself to kind of redesign this thing and make a collage of the front of all the places that the thing, not all the places obviously, but a lot of the places where it's been. And I just want to thank her publicly for the effort that she puts through this thing, because this is a lot of work. And if you're out and about at City Hall, they're all thrown out here. So I just want you to pick one up and take a look at it. In that same vein of the cop cab, Director Harris Blackwood of the Governor's Office of Highway Safety has invited us down to the Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. And it's a great honor to be there for the second year in a row. A lot of our public safety officials get to be there and enjoy the race as the guest of Director Blackwood. And I just want to thank him for that. And then also, Director Blackwood has also invited us to attend with the car. The Atlanta Hawks is doing a joint operation with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety on an anti-drinking and driving thing. So we're actually going to be down at the Hawks for 3 dates coming up in March and April. It's going to be really exciting, and I want to thank him for that. So we just continue to do a lot of things with the car. It makes an impact. I think if we've reached one person, our goal is accomplished. We're not going to give up with that just one, though. We're just going to keep out there plugging, and hopefully it'll make a difference in somebody's lives. I believe it has. Outside of that, shop local. Thank you all again for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Marmo?
No report for today.
Ms. Kalinsky?
Councilman Marmol and myself are looking forward to attending the newly elected Officials Institute this week.
Oh, great.
And that will be at the University of Georgia. And I'm certain we'll be only focused on the academia as opposed to the food and beverage industry in Athens.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Bender? No report. That ends the council reports. Now the mayor's report. I just want you all to recognize this is the 5th meeting in a row now that we have not touched the gavel. I'm very proud of that. So we're going to see how long we can go without doing it. But I can't do it without y'all, and y'all are helping me a lot. So thank you very much. Barry, we have a lot of stuff going on in the city. We really do. It's a pleasure working with staff. It just seems that every day something new is happening, and we're excited about it. We got a lot of good things. I can't wait to be able to tell you about them, but we're just kind of in that area yet where we don't have them concrete. We just have them up there circling, but we'll bring them down as soon as we do. I can't wait to tell you about them. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thanks for coming back every 2 weeks and seeing us. And again, we're here for you. If you need us, you have our phone numbers. I promise you there's no one up here that doesn't return their phone calls if you call them or just answers the phone when you call. So please take advantage of that. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you allowing us to sit up here and work for you, for the city. Thank you all. Have a good night. We are going to have to go into exec session. Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment.
Marcy Fair, 1749 Ridgedale Drive. I just want to let everybody know that the Snellville Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association is having their annual golf tournament April 25th at Summit Chase. So mark your calendar and sign up soon. Thank you.
Please come down. Are you Ms. Severino?
Yes, sir.
Oh, fine. Thank you.
I won't take up very much of your time,
Just
gentlemen.
please, if you would, recite your name and phone number or
Yes.
your address so we have it on the record.
Tia Severino, 2697 Dallas Place.
In Salvo?
Snellville, yes. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. I've brought some papers for you to leave with you. I've been researching crematories for the last 5.5 years. Some years ago, Snellville had your own little tussle with the crematory. I should clarify, I do live outside of Snellville city limits. I'm in unincorporated Gwinnett, but I do pay very close attention to what goes on here, family members here as well. But I don't know if you guys are aware that there is a new Senate bill that would seek to increase the distance requirements for crematories to 2,000 feet and would strike the standalone language from the law. And this is really important to me. It's kind of the culmination of the work I've been doing for about 5.5 years, and many other people across the state who have been kind of in the same situation that you guys were in 2008. I don't know who was here on the council at the time, but if you remember, there was a crematory that opened up, and people didn't like that very much, and so it had to get shut down, and then the guy came back and filed lawsuit against you guys, and I believe the end result was an ordinance that said no crematories in Snellville. And I want to applaud the council for that and the city for recognizing that. Citizens don't need to have a crematory near them. And the reason why I'm here today is to ask for your support in some way, fashion, whatever way is possible, and that is to get in touch with these guys down at the state capitol and let them know that you care so much about this issue that you've prevented any of your citizens from having to go through it again, but wouldn't it be great to protect the other cities and communities around the state? So I will leave you with my research on crematories in a condensed and summarized form. Also, a copy of the current bill that's on, it's Senate Bill 351, and also a copy of the State Senate Study Crematoria study that I was involved in 2012.
Well, thank you very much for that. I will turn that over to our resident crematory authority, Mayor Pro Tem Bender.
Okay.
Trust me, she is an ally for you.
Awesome. Awesome. And
So if you
hopefully
could leave that with Ms. Bender, she will take care of it for you. Thank you.
Kathy Emanuel, 1313 Temple Johnson Road. I just want to remind everyone, March 19th is casino night. It will be benefiting the ministry, the Snellville Community Garden, Ministry Village, Snellville Community Garden, and the Amanda Riley Foundation. Most of you, I think a lot of you have been. It's really a fun time. You will not be able to buy tickets at the door this year. You have to buy them in advance, and they are going quickly. If anybody has any other questions, I'll hang around. I won't take up any more time. Everybody wants to get to dinner or whatever, so thanks a lot.
Do we have anyone else?
Jamie Dempsey, 430 Crested View Drive, Loganville. I'd like to commend Mayor and Council for the many hours that you guys put in, off hours, to help the city. Specifically, I'd like to address a situation that was brought about last week where a resident put a post on Facebook saying that City Hall in Snellville needs a new American flag. The one currently displayed is faded. Specifically, like to address the mayor's response to that on a Saturday, off hours, on your weekend, basically that comes out to the point that, by gosh, it would be taken care of on Monday. And I think that says a lot about what's going on in the city of Snellville, that our mayor and council address these issues, not during business hours, not during the business week, but on the weekend, and get things taken care of. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? During a public hearing of the mayor and the city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Witz announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to advise the city with respect to closing the meeting. City Attorney Tony Powell advised the city of the following reasons to close the meeting: to discuss pending and/or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions such as exempt from open meetings; to authorize negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property; authorize the ordering of an appraisal related to the acquisition, disposal of real property; enter into a contract or purchase, dispose of, or lease property subject to approval in a subsequent public vote; or enter into an option to purchase, dispose of, or lease real estate subject to approval of subsequent public vote, which is excluded from the Open Meetings Act pursuant to Section 50-14-C, B1C. Upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, dismissal, periodic evaluation, or rating of a public officer or employee which is excluded pursuant to OCGA Section 50-14-3, Upon a motion of Council Member
Emanuel.
Emanuel and a second by Council Member
Second.
Marmol. The meeting was closed with the following council members and the mayor present and voting: Tom Witz, yes. Barbara Bender.
Yes.
David Emanuel. Yes. Bobby Howard. Yes. Christy Linsky.
Yes.
Roger Marmol. Yes. We will now go into exec session. We do not expect any action to come out of the exec session. Thank you all very much for coming. We will see you all shortly.